I thought I would never find love again after my late wife passed away. It took me a lot of healing, but I finally found someone that I'm going to date. And long story short, we end up getting married. That's not the reason I'm coming to you guys today. Oh no. I'm coming to you guys because she came attached to the hip with a stepdaughter of mine. And oh boy, is she an absolute nightmare. I'm 48, male, and I'm posting on this community in search of some advice. You see, I'm going through a rough patch when it comes to my stepdaughter, Bella. Allow me to provide you with a little context to shed light on the challenges I'm facing to the present day. 20 years ago, I married the love of my life, Clara. We crossed paths during our college days, and from that moment I knew she was the one. Now, when I look back, I realized that I was the happiest, and it was the happiest period of my life. Well, she faced a medical challenge that prevented us from having children, but we embraced our status as childless couple gracefully. Clara had an artistic taste. She possessed an exceptional eye for antique treasures. Her collection was mesmerizing tapestry of history and elegance, filled with heirloom jewels like the ornate Victorian single diamond brooch passed down through generations, the delicate pearl locket that exuded timeless grace, and the rare Georgian emerald ring which was passed down from Clara's great-grandmother. We were married for 10 years, but one fateful day, Clara collapsed unexpectedly at her work. My entire world seemed to crumble as we received devastating news of her diagnosis, a formidable and deadly cancer. By the time we discovered it, she was already in advanced stages, and there was nothing we could do to save her. Her demise left me utterly shattered, and I was not able to come to terms with her absence. Clara had transformed one of the rooms in our house into a charming little gallery, where she proudly displayed her collections. After her demise, I found a solace in spending hours in that room, lost in contemplation as I gazed at those magnificent artworks. Now, I won't burden you with all the nitty-gritty, but I just wanted to emphasize just how deeply significant these heirlooms are to me. They represent more than just objects. Their presence served as a reminder of the love and memories that we cherished together. Jumping ahead 6 years ago, I crossed paths with my present wife, Sophie, during a counseling session. The loss of Clara stagnated my life, and I was not able to move forward even after 4 years. My family and friends compelled me to seek therapy, and after several months of counseling, my therapist recommended joining a group activity as a means to reconnect with others, as I had inadvertently isolated myself following Clara's death. It was during one of these sessions where I met Sophie, my current wife. We discovered that we share a similar history of loss. You see, Sophie had tragically lost her husband to a similar fate as Clara, but she had a daughter, Bella, who was 19 at the time. We bonded through our griefs and found solace in each other's company. Eventually, after a year, decided to get married. Sophie is a social worker and spends most of her time working for NGOs and the social community. In my 5 years of marriage, I barely had any tiff with Sophie, and even if we have one, it's because of her entitled daughter, Bella. Bella has always been a troublemaker, even before she came into my life, and when Sophie and I decided to get married, we felt it was important to speak to Bella about it, since it would directly affect her. Bella instantly dismissed our marriage, claiming that Sophie was too old to remarry. Thankfully, it was Sophie's mother who talked to Bella, helping her understand and eventually approve of our relationship. When I married Sophie, Bella was now 20 years old, a young adult, and was dependent on Sophie. I welcomed her into my home with open arms, embracing her as my own daughter. Bella did not complete her college and showed little ambition for the future, though she had a passion for painting and initially desired to pursue it as a career. She eventually gave up on that dream as well, though. With a spacious 4-bedroom house, I had no qualms about giving Bella a room, as she had become a part of our family now. However, It seemed that Bella failed to reciprocate the sentiment towards me. In our initial meetings before the marriage, she made it clear that she would not address me as dad, and insisted I refrain from imposing or imposing any parental decisions on her. Well, I respected her wishes, recognizing her right as an adult. Little did I know that I would unwittingly become little more than an ATM in her eyes. So, shortly after our marriage, Sophie approached me requesting a monthly allowance for Bella since she had no means of earning for herself. Considering it my parental duty, I agreed to provide the allowance. However, as time went on, I began to realize that the monthly allowance continued to rise steadily, parallel to Bella's ever-increasing demands for an upgraded lifestyle. After some time, I brought up the idea of Bella finishing college to secure a good job and be self-sufficient. However, she vehemently opposed the suggestion, accusing me of being an overbearing parent, and Sophie acknowledged the validity of my suggestion, but she did not want to do anything that would upset her precious daughter. Or should I say precious monster? Since then, I've refrained from offering any advice to Bella and have kept my distance from her life. Even if something bothers me, we both avoid direct communication aside from polite greetings during special occasions. Any interaction between Bella and me is channeled through Sophie. After a year of my marriage with Sophie, Bella's unceasing request for money to finance her extravagant taste emerged. Whether it's the latest designer handbags that cost a small fortune or the luxurious vacation she insists on taking every few months. Her demands for funds to fuel her lavish lifestyle seemed to be never-ending. On her birthdays, she demanded some of the heirlooms which were treasured by my late wife, Clara. So, I gave her the equestrian paintings, federal-style bullseyes mirrors, and Ozark pottery. I did not mind gifting her these items until I got to know her true intentions. Shortly after receiving these gifts, Bella would often give them away to her friends, leaving me utterly dumbfounded. However, Sophie would defend her actions, claiming that Bella had a generous heart and enjoyed sharing her precious belongings with her friends. It was not until much later I discovered she was actually selling these items instead of genuinely gifting them. Well, my sanity was wearing thin as I continued to pay the bill for Bella's extravagant lifestyle. Therefore, about a year ago, I finally gave up. I informed Sophie that moving forward I would only provide a monthly allowance of $500 to cover her basic needs, such as food and shelter, considering she was already living in my house for free, and that I would be cutting back on all extra expenses. Additionally, I offered to support her financially if she decided to pursue college. Don't judge me on this, but it became financially challenging to satiate her desire for expensive indulgences. Moreover, she was an adult and needed to take responsibility for her own life. Honestly, I would have just expected the same from my own daughter if the situation was reversed. Needless to say, Bella did not take this positively. She fought with Sophie and demanded she fulfills her lifestyle, which Sophie did for a few months, but Sophie worked for an NGO and social workers don't get paid enough. I distanced myself from their ongoing conflict, but tensions reached a boiling point when I discovered several missing items from Clara's cherished collection room about 6 months ago. Normally, I would keep that room locked up and only visit it once a month to dust off the shelves. I noticed the absence of small little collections, but I was unable to spot the missing items until a Buddha statue went missing that I was very aware of. You see, it was a unique statue, carved from a single stone which Clara had acquired during her trip to Bali. While not an antique, it was a rare find here in the United States. When I confronted Sophie about it, she denied any knowledge of the missing statue. Later, she confessed that Bella had gifted it to a Buddhist friend in an attempt to impress him. My anger flared, and I made it crystal clear that Bella was no longer welcome in that room. So, A few months down the line, as Bella's birthday approached, she shockingly demanded Clara's prized Victorian single diamond brooch. I could not believe the audacity of her request and instantly refused. However, Sophie managed to convince me that these heirlooms were meant to be passed on to the next generation, and since Bella was my only heir with no other children, it made sense. Although I was apprehensive about it, I reluctantly handed over these precious brooches to Bella. A couple months ago, I casually inquired if Bella had kept the brooch safely. It was unusual for me to follow up on a gifted item, yeah, but this time I could not help but be protective over my late wife's belongings. To my dismay, Bella snaps at me, confessing that she sold it to fund her trip to Hawaii. The revelation left me utterly shocked and baffled. This ignited a fierce argument between Bella and me, and she justified her actions as retaliation for the reduction in her monthly allowance and the restriction on her extravagant lifestyle, accusing me of being stingy and controlling. She refused to see the gravity of her actions clearly. Sophie was not at home when we had this argument, and after she got to know the story from us both separately, she chose to ignore the elephant in the room. However, I sternly warned Bella to stay away from the gallery room and made it crystal clear that she should no longer expect any further items from Clara's collection. She bit her tongue in silence and vowed to break ties with me. Since that fateful incident, we have never shared a table. I'm sure y'all must be wondering what Sophie's role was in all this. Well, let me tell you. Sophie had grown weary of Bella's constant tantrums and entitled behavior too. She held her late husband responsible for spoiling Bella to the point where she believed she deserved everything without even lifting a finger. Now, I don't mean to bring up the dead amid this chaos, but I reckon Sophie's incompetence in handling her entitled daughter. I tried to have discussions with Sophie about their issues multiple times, but she always flips the conversation by blaming her late husbands and shedding a few tears. I might come across as harsh, but Bella has pushed all my buttons, and I simply can't tolerate her nasty behavior any longer. Every year, on Clara's death anniversary, I make it a point to purchase antique art pieces to add to our collections as a way to honor her legacy. Just last week, on her anniversary, I was browsing the internet, searching for unique treasures that were up for sale. As I scrolled through countless marvelous antique pieces, something sent a shiver down my spine. There it was. A pearl locket, unlike any other locket. This one had a pearl delicately nestled within a C-shaped platinum setting. It was a gift to Clara from her uncle on her first birthday, and she cherished it until her final days. The seller, who went by the ID Bell Crafts, did not need much detective work, huh? I instantly knew it was Bella, my stepdaughter, even before seeing the ID. Curiosity got the better of me, and I ventured into the seller's profile, only to discover that Bella had listed several other items for auction, including Clara's ancestral emerald ring. And even the very wedding ring I'd given her. These items were yet to be sold. That wasn't all, though. As I delved deeper, I discovered that several other items had already been auctioned and sold. All these precious birthday gifts, the diamond brooch, and numerous other pieces that had just vanished from the gallery were all sold off by Bella through this platform. It was well past midnight and Sophie was fast asleep. I could not contain myself any longer. I slammed my fist down on my study table and exclaimed, "What the hell is this girl up to?" Startled by my outburst, Sophie abruptly woke up and rushed to my side. I showed her the evidence and she was just as shocked as I was by Bella's sheer greed, and she starts sobbing. As I rose to confront that little monster, Sophie held onto my arms, pleading with me to stop. She knew that I had reached my breaking point and things could go out of control irreparably quickly. Promising to address this issue and have everything rectified the next morning, she begged me to calm down. but I could not shake off my dissatisfaction and lingering frustration. I inspected the gallery room to ensure everything remained undisturbed. With the new lock in place and the key secured in my pocket, I warned Sophie that neither she nor her daughter should come anywhere near that room. I could not sleep for the rest of the night. I left the house at dawn and spent the entire day fishing at my favorite lake. Upon returning home that evening, I anxiously checked the website, expecting Bella to have taken down the listings, but to my surprise, they were still up. Unable to spot Sophie around, I called her and discovered that she was out for work. I didn't give a damn and unleashed my frustration on her, demanding to know why the listings were still live. Honestly, I regret lashing out at Sophie for Bella's actions, but she always sides with Bella, fueling her ego. It's Sophie's fault for raising Bella, who acts like a lazy couch potato, spending her days lounging on the sofa and nights partying with friends. Minutes after my call with Sophie, Bella stormed into my room, seething with anger. She accused me of mentally tormenting Sophie. Her allegations pushed me over the edge, and I screamed back at her. I condemned her for selling those precious gifts and gave her an ultimatum to remove all the remaining listings from the website immediately. She dared to claim that those collection pieces were worthless junk, taking up unnecessary space. According to her twisted logic, she did me a favor by selling that trash just to make room for better collections. I wanted to knock some sense into her head, but I knew I could not afford any more trouble in my life, so I made a difficult but very necessary decision. I cut Bella out of my life. I asked Sophie to set things straight with Bella. She's a 25-year-old adult now and needs to take responsibility for her own life. I made it clear that I won't be financially supporting her anymore. No more monthly allowance. Furthermore, I stated that she can no longer stay with us as I can't trust her after she disobeyed my warnings and sold items from the gallery room. Sophie pleaded with me to reconsider and promised to have a serious talk with Bella. So, later that evening, I heard a commotion in the house. When I went to investigate, I found Bella yelling at Sophie for trying to warn her. Bella justified her actions by claiming that she had to sell those items because we did not provide enough for her. She argued that $500 a monthly allowance was not sufficient to meet her needs, forcing her to sell the gifts. I was stunned. She was living in my house, free, enjoying these delicious meals that I cook, free, surrounded by gadgets and comforts and air condition for free, yet it wasn't satisfactory for her? If it wasn't enough, then she needs to work for that extravagant lifestyle she so much desires, something she was not willing to do. I was aghast by Bella's greed and selfishness. She accused me of being a manipulative, controlling old man who influenced her mother, Sophie, against her. Bella's narcissistic behavior had reached its peak. She even threatened Sophie that she would continue to sell off the items unless we increased her monthly allowance back to what it was earlier, $2,000. Well, you know what they say. That was the breaking point for me. I confronted Bella and made it clear that I was cutting her off from my life. Her face turned absolutely pale upon hearing this, and she lashed out at Sophie for marrying me and blamed me for her miserable life. I had enough of the mother-daughter drama and decided to leave the place to calm down. It's been a week since the incident. Sophie and I are barely talking to each other. The other day, she asked me for some time until Bella finds a new place to move out, so I agreed to it. This morning, I confronted Sophie and clarified that my intention is not to separate her from her daughter, but Bella needs to face the consequences of her actions for once. Sophie acknowledged that my decision is the right way to bring Bella back on track, but as a mother, she's upset to see her daughter drifting away. I'm torn. I'm not sure if my decision is correct. Even though my intentions are positive, Any suggestion or advice would be greatly appreciated. What's up, everybody? Mr. Reddito here. Wow, what an insane form of events. Okay, so there is some updates to hop into. I hope you guys are enjoying it so far. If you're new to the channel and you want daily videos, the best way is simple. Smash that subscribe button underneath this video right now, and let's jump into update number 1. Hey everyone. First off, I want to thank you all for the support and validation of my decision. When I posted, I was unsure, but after reading your comments and engaging in direct messages, I realized I should have taken this step earlier. Some of you asked who my current wife, Sophie, seems disconnected from the situation and why. The truth is, Sophie is not disconnected. She's just unable to rein in Bella's narcissistic behavior. Sophie did not set boundaries for Bella during her formative years, so now Bella's uncontrollable as an adult. Sophie regrets spoiling her and understands Bella's manipulative nature, but she often takes a middle ground to preserve her relationship with her daughter. After my final ultimatum of cutting her off, she stayed with us for an additional 2 weeks while looking for a job in a new place. I could not help but wonder how she would manage to pay rent and cover her basic expenses. I asked Sophie about it, and she mentioned that Bella was interviewing for cashier positions at nearby cafes and supermarkets. I had my doubts about whether that wage would be enough for her needs, but I kept my thoughts to myself. When Bella got a job at a pizza place, she treated Sophie by taking her out for dinner. Despite the souring of our relationship, I felt happy, seeing her finally standing on her own 2 feet. She moved out after securing the job, and anyways, it's been 3 months since Bella moved out and I'm no contact with her. Last Sunday, Bella visits to see Sophie. Although I was in the living room, we chose to ignore each other as she went straight to our bedroom. Since that visit, Sophie has been urging me to let Bella back into the house, claiming that she's a changed person. However, I have my doubts about such a rapid transformation. I need more time to make a decision. Sophie assures me that Bella is sorry for her mistakes and promises not to repeat them. She even offered to pay rent. Money is not my primary concern here. I distance myself from Bella because she sold off precious family heirlooms that she obtained through theft of emotional manipulation. Therefore, I'm hesitant about welcoming her back. I would greatly appreciate any suggestions or advice on whether or not to give her a second chance. Update number 2. Hey guys, I know it's been a while since my last update, I'm sorry. And I've got some new developments to share. As I mentioned before, Sophie asked me to allow Bella back into our home. I resisted for about a month, wanting to be sure Bella actually changed or if it was just a facade. Despite the lack of an apology from Bella, I eventually agreed to let her move back in, considering Sophie's request. However, I kept my distance and made it clear to Sophie that if Bella repeated her past mistakes, I might cut ties with Sophie as well. Well, things went smooth for about 3 months. However, during Thanksgiving week, Bella starts displaying her entitled behavior once again. She took a month-long leave from work to enjoy the festival without her manager's approval, despite being a low-performing employee at the same time. This resulted in her losing her job. Obviously, right? But she did not give a damn about it. She was confident on finding another job after the festival season. By the way, Bella did not fulfill her promise of paying rent, but I didn't even bring it up. However, there was a much larger issue than this. I got to know that Bella was in a serious relationship and was planning to get married soon. As her legal guardian, I asked Sophie to invite the guy and his family to our house so that we can get to know them. Bella, however, was reluctant and claimed that it was not the right time to do that yet. So, 2 weeks ago, Bella announced her engagement to her soon-to-be fiancé, and she dared to request Clara's pearl locket and the emerald ring as her engagement gift, but I immediately refused. Unlike before, Bella surprisingly remained calm in her demands. She argued that as my stepdaughter, she had a rightful claim to those heirlooms, as they were meant to be passed down to the successors. While her reasoning had some merit to it, I knew her true intentions. I just had this gut feeling that she wanted to sell them for her own greed. Bella tried to persuade me, but I put my foot down and denied her request on this one. Well, the engagement date was yesterday, and as it drew closer, her attitude shifted from reasonable to aggressive. She even threatened Sophie, saying she would abandon her if I did not comply. I could not care less about her threat, but Sophie was affected by it. I suspected Bella had planned this engagement as a means to gain access to the family treasury. I insisted on meeting the guy before giving any gifts, but Bella insisted we meet him directly at the engagement. I knew she was lying, and any sensible person could see right through her lies and her deceit. However, Sophie was blinded by her love for her daughter, still believing Bella's words, and urged me to comply with her demands. To resolve the situation, I devised a plan. I sat down with Sophie and Bella and proposed that I would pass on the heirlooms to Bella once she had a child, as the child would be the ideal heir to these true treasures. While Sophie embraced this idea, Bella became pale and rejected it. She insisted on having all the heirlooms now. As the engagement day approached, Bella's demands grew more insistent. She even took money from Sophie to arrange the engagement venue without involving us in the planning. On the night before the engagement, Bella suddenly announced that she had broken up with her boyfriend, claiming he cheated on her. I confided in Sophie that it was all part of Bella's devious scheme to obtain money and gifts. For the first time, Sophie was convinced that Bella had planned everything maliciously. She emotionally manipulated Bella, leading her to finally confess. You see, Bella admitted to orchestrating a fake engagement to abscond with Sophie's money and Clara's heirlooms. She intended to use the money for her Europe trip. Devastated by Bella's confession, Sophie questioned her about her further planning, and Bella responded with a shrug, saying, "Nothing. I would have returned from the trip and claimed my fiancé cheated on me and ran away with all the heirlooms. I'm certain you would have taken me back. After all, I'm your only daughter. Your husband's money is all going to be mine, isn't it? Why do you think I let you marry this grumpy man? He's rich, isn't he?" Wow. Shocked by Bella's audacity, Sophie immediately threw her out of the house and vowed never to see her again. Bella was shocked by her mother's sudden anger, while Bella had always known how to be manipulating to Sophie. This time, Sophie had reached her breaking point and cut ties with her own daughter. Sophie tearfully shared these conversations with me and even suggested that we consider surrogacy. I'm determined not to let that monster re-enter my life, though. I know it may only be a matter of time before Sophie's heart softens again for her daughter. I'm now seriously considering surrogacy and have been researching the topic online. I would appreciate any ideas or suggestions regarding this matter. Thank you for hearing me out. Okay guys, so the comment section of this one was ripping Sophie apart. Why do I say that? Well, why did they give Bella so many opportunities, including OP? It was very obvious from the beginning that she was, narcissistic, and also did not care about anyone but herself. Didn't care about her mom. She didn't care if she ruined the entire relationship. All she cared about was stealing stuff and reselling it. So, I'm not going to read any comments because it's pretty obvious. Well, they absolutely hate Bella. So let's go ahead and talk about it in the comment section down below. Do you think OP should have just rid himself of both of these people right when he realized that Bella and Sophie, they were not going to change? Bella was going to continue to steal stuff, and Sophie was not going to do anything about it. What would you guys do if you were in OP's, position and had to go through this entire event yourself? We do know at the end of the story, OP and Sophie finally got together and cut Bella completely off, but man, it took a long time to get to that point. So let's discuss it in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for joining me on today's story. I hope you enjoyed it. There's more to come tomorrow, so make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. I'll see you.